Hello, my friends. Welcome to Lindy's Magpie Reads. And if you're new here, I'm Lindy. I've only got 4 books to talk about today, so I have a chance to talk a little bit more in depth about each one. And I'm going to start right in with this graphic novel by Tommi Parrish, Men I Trust. There are actually no trustworthy men in this book. Tommi Parrish is a trans non-binary cartoonist from Australia. They lived in Canada for a few years, and now they live in Massachusetts, I think. And the setting of the story looks like it's in North America, just from the side of the road that the car's driving on. I really loved their previous book, The Lie and How We Told It. And this one initially disappointed me a bit, but the more I read it, the more I got into it. Their style of art is very surreal, with these big bulky bodies and giant hands, but small tiny little heads. And each panel is hand painted, and sometimes something like hair color might change on your character from one panel to the next. I actually didn't have any trouble following these really saturated colors, and the surreal style kind of added something to the story, which is about 2 lonely women who start to be friends. It does not start off well because Sasha is kind of stalking Eliza. We meet Eliza first. She is attending an AA meeting. She's been sober for a while. She's got a small child, about 5 or 6 years old, and is not with the child's father anymore. She's struggling financially. She works in a deli or something like that, and is trying to make a go with her poetry, the thing that she's most interested in. So then we've got Sasha, who comes from a more privileged background. She has really messed up in her life, has lots of mental health issues. She's moved back in with her parents, and she's queer. She also does sex work. It's all very complicated, but also very real, gritty, and ultimately very moving about how people really mess up. Yeah. And learn from their mistakes. You really get that impression from this story. Definitely an adult novel. Next up, a graphic novel for kids and teens and adults, so really all ages. This one is called Frizzy, and the text is by Claribel Ortega, and the art is by Bousamra. The art is very bright and appealing. This is our opening scene. Marlene is the main character. She has a Dominican mother who takes her every weekend. They spend most of the day at the salon getting their hair straightened. The whole issue about the idea of good hair is explored so well in here, and how it's a part of internalized anti-blackness, and also within a systemic racist culture, where in order to be considered presentable or professional, your hair has to be a certain way. Marlene likes to play outside, But when her hair is straightened, if she sweats or moves around too much, her hair frizzes up, makes her mom mad, and she gets bullied at school as well when she lets her hair just be natural. I love that Marlene has an aunt who keeps her hair natural, and after some unfortunate things that happen at school and with her mom, she goes to stay with her aunt for the weekend, who teaches her how to use the right products and the right care for her hair. So instead of being really frizzy, she's got these gorgeous curls. And so it ends with such celebration and self-love. You know, the narrative arc is really heartwarming. Despite some really serious issues in this book, it has quite a light tone. I especially love the relationship that we see between Marlene and her mother. Her mother, by the way, had been sent home from school when she was a girl because she had let her hair go natural, and that wasn't allowed at her school. The way that these kinds of ideas are passed on from one generation to the next is also really well explored in this book. But the happy scene at the end with her mom and her aunt and herself after they've had a wash day where they all go with their natural curls is just so beautiful. And it really makes me want to read the book, the Wash Day Diaries. I think my YA book club is going to be reading that one soon, so I look forward to getting my hands on it. Now, if you've been watching these videos, you know that I save the best book for last. And up until this morning, I have been planning to tell you about this next book as the best book. But the other one that it was originally in this slot number 3, I guess, or second from the top, the more that I thought about it, the more I loved it. And so I've swapped them around, but really, Frizzy was a 5-star read for me. And these next two are both 5-star reads as well. So I will tell you about one that I listened to in audio, Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus, and the audio is read by Miranda Raison. I had the misconception about this novel that it was a romance, and the cover is the main reason why I thought, it's probably not for me. I was so wrong, and I think this cover does not do it justice. You know, it looks like what we used to call chick lit to me. No, no, no. It is such a feminist tale with a fantastic main character, Elizabeth Zott, who is a chemist, a scientist in the 1950s. Everything is against her, but she perseveres. Elizabeth doesn't have many friends, but she does have this great relationship with Harriet, a neighbor. And here's a passage that is a good example of the humor in this book, as well as the feminist undertones. Harriet says, "You know how men are." Elizabeth considers this. No, she did not know how men were. With the exception of Calvin and her dead brother, John, Dr. Mason, and maybe Walter Pine, she only seemed to bring out the worst in men. They either wanted to control her, touch her, dominate her, silence her, correct her, or tell her what to do. She didn't understand why they couldn't treat her as a fellow human being, as a colleague, a friend, an equal, or even a stranger on the street. Someone to whom one is automatically respectful until you found out they've buried a bunch of bodies in the backyard. Now, I saw that Frida just walked across the camera, so I might have to refilm this. I'm not sure. So, the best book that I've read is this one, Sometimes They Sang by Helen Portrebenko. This particular edition is print on demand from Publications Studio, and it's not very nice to look at, so I am going to put a picture here of the original 1986 Press Gang Publishers edition. I will link down below if you are interested in getting hold of a copy of this. It might be a bit difficult. So Publication Studio is one way, the print on demand, and also you can read it online on a digital archive, so I will link that one as well. Helen Portrebenko was born in 1940 in northwestern Alberta of Ukrainian parents, and through her life and her writing, she has been an activist, devout feminist, and proponent of workers' rights. She just died last year. I've read a couple of her previous books, a collection of short stories called Hey Waitress, and a novel called Taxi, and now this one, Sometimes They Sang. It covers a year in the life of a woman named Odessa, who, like Portrebenko, born on a farm, moved to the city, moved to Edmonton after she graduated from high school in order to go to university, and eventually moved to Vancouver, where the story is set. She's in her 30s, I think this is the 1970s, and she's not with a man, but she's decided she wants to have a baby and she wants to get pregnant. Unfortunately, she's unemployed. The house where she has been renting a room has been sold, and all of the tenants have to move out. She's got to find a place to live. And she's up to job application number 600, and she's sort of burnt out on applying for jobs. So in the meantime, she's volunteering part-time at the women's bookstore. So I will read you that section. At the bookstore, she met Laurie Travato, who seemed nice. Odessa thought she had found a friend, but it turned out Laurie was friendly because she was part of a recruitment drive for new picketers. Because the strike was a feminist union, the bookstore women took regular picket shifts. Laurie told Odessa that it was absolutely necessary that she picket. She told Odessa that was what everybody was doing this summer. She told Odessa it would make a woman out of her. So Odessa went to the picket line. The strike had begun in the dim reaches of the past, and Odessa was never to meet any of the original staff. They had joined the union, and some were fired. The union made an unfair labor practice complaint to the Labor Relations Board. The employer proved to the satisfaction of the board that the firings were because the boss was bad-tempered and enjoyed firing people. Evidence was brought to show that he fired 3 people a month even before the union organizing drive. This was legal. It is only illegal to fire people for union activity. The Labor Relations Board therefore ruled that all of the employees had been fired legally, with the exception of one terrified boy student who was reinstated. This one was fired again within the week. And she's thinking back to when she and her friend Olga moved from the farm to Edmonton, and they were sharing a room together. City people made fun of them and their farm ways, and I have to say I could really relate having moved from a farm to Edmonton in order to go to college. Here's the section. They particularly ridiculed the way she walked. "Ya walk like a farmer, ya walk like a farmer," was the chant in those days. Yeah, I heard that. The main trouble with university was how quickly her savings ran out. She tried working part-time while going to school, but was unable to continue this because she was under the misapprehension that students should read all the assigned books and write all the assigned papers. She watched in awe as others dissembled and plagiarized and invented excuses and laid on charm instead of working, but was unable to do this herself. By the time she's in Vancouver, she has a huge amount of student debt and other debt, which is explained. I won't go into that. Now, I'm only on page 20, and this is the last part that I'm going to read. Again, to give you an idea. Odessa was unable to learn at university why farmers were driven from the land. This whole issue about the situation of farmers is of big concern in the novel. She learned something about peasants, but soon found the available information inadequate. She turned to socialist books and found that they hated peasants just as virulently as did the capitalists. Capitalists dismissed peasants as backward and inefficient and waged wars on them when they refused to work for nothing. Socialists were equally dismissive, calling peasants individualist and anti-revolutionary, and also waging wars against them. Then who would produce the food? Odessa wondered. This book was not only hugely enjoyable to read, it was also very thought-provoking and philosophical, and I love how she combines those two. So I'm going to be tracking down the rest of Portrebenko's oeuvre because I want more. And that's it. This is a quick Friday Reads. I'm going to be helping my friend pack up stuff, a friend who's moving. So it's actually good that this is a quick one. I hope it doesn't take me too long to edit and get it posted for you to watch. Thank you as always for watching. I really appreciate hearing from you in the comments, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye for now.